Good morning. This is David Bennett, and this is Bitcoin And, a podcast where I try to find the edge effect between the worlds of Bitcoin, gaming, permaculture, podcasting, and education to gain a better understanding of all. Edge effect is a concept from ecology describing a greater diversity of life where the edges of two systems overlap. While species from either system can be found at the edge, it is important to note there are species in the overlap that exist in neither system, and that is what I seek to uncover. So join me in discovering the variety of things being created as Bitcoin rubs up against other systems.
It is 9:53 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. It is the 16th day of December 2024, and this is episode 1009 of Bitcoin, and a couple of announcements here. I am going to be leaving on Friday for a day one of the 2-day journey to Southwest Colorado because it takes that long to get from Eastern Washington to Southwest Colorado. It's like 18 hours of just straight driving. I did it once with the family all in one shot one time. Not recommended. It's just not. Just don't do that shit. Just get a hotel room and, just bite the bullet, because it's just not worth driving 18 hours unless you are a professionally trained Walmart trucker or something like that. So I will not be doing a show on Friday, and I will probably try to do one on Monday. I am going to be taking my the mobile studio along with me. It may be spotty because the only room that I've got in Colorado is not heated, and the overnight temperatures have reached down to 10 degrees. So it may be a situation where I'm not able to do shows because I don't want to freeze to death, and I do hope that everybody here understands. Now, new all-time highs. What could possibly have triggered that shit? Well, Helen Parts, Cointelegraph, MicroStrategy has bought 15.3 thousand Bitcoin for $1.5 billion. Their holdings have now reached 439,000 Bitcoin. And before I begin this one, it should be noted that last night, he announced it this morning, Michael Saylor did, that he had actually purchased, but last night he made a comment on Twitter that maybe he was going to buy Bitcoin above 100K, and that's when we started seeing these spikes start going up, and then we started coming back down, and then this morning, I guess after he announced it, we started seeing spike ups again. So it very well may be that this particular new all-time high was specifically generated by the actions of everybody's favorite Bitcoin troll, Michael Saylor. MicroStrategy, a major corporate Bitcoin holder, has added 15,350 BTC to its reserves, spending $1.5 billion in cash, the company said today, December the 16th. They acquired the fresh stash of Bitcoin between the dates of December the 9th and the 15th, the company announced. The latest purchase was made at an average price of $100,386 per Bitcoin, using proceeds from the issuance and sales of shares under a convertible note sales agreement. And that is that 42 plan, the 21 million or billion in equities and 21 billion in debt, whatever. It's the 42 plan. Anyway, it should be noted that this is the first purchase of MicroStrategy, or first purchase of Bitcoin by MicroStrategy at prices above, on average, 100,000 BTC. The acquisition brings the total Bitcoin holdings of MicroStrategy and its subsidiaries to 439,000 Bitcoin, which is now worth $45.6 billion. Wow. That's half of the cash that Microsoft is sitting on at $88 billion. This is actually a little bit more than half of the value of Microsoft's cash. And as famously noted, they decided not to buy Bitcoin. Oh, well. Anyway, they bought at the aggregate purchase price of $27.1 billion, or an average price of $725 per BTC. That's like the whole kit and caboodle. So all of the Bitcoin that they've ever bought since he started buying in the summer of, 2020, he bought at an average price of $61,725 per. Not bad. MicroStrategy founder Michael Saylor highlighted the company's Bitcoin performance, noting a 46.4% yield quarter to quarter and 72% yield to date. Again, not bad. The latest MicroStrategy Bitcoin acquisition comes shortly after Saylor said he'd continue to buy Bitcoin above 100,000 amid MicroStrategy announcing another 21,550 Bitcoin purchase on December the 9th. Quote, I'm sure that I will be buying Bitcoin at $1 million a coin, probably $1 billion a day of Bitcoin at $1 million a coin, Saylor said in an appearance on Yahoo Finance's Market Domination. MicroStrategy's aggressive Bitcoin buying comes amid an ongoing rally in its share price, which has climbed 490% year to date, according to TradingView data. On December the 14th, NASDAQ announced MicroStrategy stock will be added to the NASDAQ 100 index, which tracks the performance of the 100 largest non-financial companies on the NASDAQ stock exchange. Okay, let's just put that in again, because we said, like I told you on Friday, that this may be coming. It has indeed happened. After the show, back on the 14th, let's see, Friday was the 14th, I do believe. Let me make sure. No, Friday was Saturday, or 14th was Saturday. So on the 13th, which was the last show that I did, I read a couple stories that said that this may happen. And then the day after that show, they announced that it did happen. So NASDAQ has announced publicly, all right, so it's official, that MicroStrategy stock will be added to the NASDAQ 100 index. Although MicroStrategy is expected to join the index before the market open on December the 23rd, the announcement has fueled a rally in its stock price, edging up 3% in pre-market trading, according to CNBC. And at the time of writing, the MicroStrategy stock traded in the pre-market for around $408, according to data from TradingView. Bitcoin traded at 103,941, up around 1.3% over the past 24 hours, according to CoinGecko. So there you go. Not only have they bought more Bitcoin, MicroStrategy has been officially included, or has been announced that they're going to be officially included into the NASDAQ 100 on the 23rd of this month. Now, Forbes. Tomer Niv is writing this one, entitled The Cold War of National Bitcoin Reserves, Global Race for Digital Gold. And this should be an overview of what we know so far of other nation states that have tipped their hat, winked their eye, nudged their elbow, or otherwise hinted that they may be looking at a Bitcoin strategic reserve themselves, following suit with the United States. As the global economy evolves, a new arms race is emerging. Yes, because of course, we always have to boil it down to war. Have you noticed this? It's always an arms race. I just, no, I think we need to get out of this stupid mindset. But anyway, a new arms race is emerging, not in conventional weaponry, but in Bitcoin. The world's most prominent cryptocurrency is now at the center of geopolitical strategies, with nations vying to establish national Bitcoin reserves that may redefine their financial sovereignty. In this new Cold War of Bitcoin, the United States, Russia, China, Japan, and other countries are staking claims. The United States and the strategic accumulation through seizures. Don't have a seizure, man. Have a conniption. The United States is currently the largest geopolitical holder of Bitcoin, with approximately 207,000 Bitcoin in its possession. The massive stockpile is valued at over $20 billion at current prices. The United States government's Bitcoin holdings have primarily been acquired through asset seizures from various criminal investigations, most notably the Silk Road case. And recently, the United States government transferred 20,000 Bitcoin worth $1.9 billion to Coinbase Prime, according to Arkham Intelligence, demonstrating active management of its holdings. Despite these transfers, the government still retains a significant portion of its Bitcoin assets, with discussions ongoing about potentially using these holdings as a strategic reserve or to address national debt. And if I was President-elect Trump, I would be on the phone to the United States Treasury and the United States Marshal Service and tell them two things. One, you don't sell any of this Bitcoin. And number two, you need to stop transferring this Bitcoin unless you are prepared to make a full disclosure as to why and where it's going, and that you will not be selling it because this shit rocks the market. And third, I guess three things. Third, if you do sell, or if you do transfer without a full disclosure that you are not intending to sell it and the reasoning why you're transferring it, then I will have your heads on platters on day one. That's exactly what I would tell them, because this shit is just straight up market manipulation the way that they're doing it. Okay, on to Russia with a response to sanctions. Russia's interest in Bitcoin escalated after the imposition of severe Western sanctions over its invasion of Ukraine. While the Kremlin denies using Bitcoin to evade sanctions, public records reveal that state-controlled entities and oligarchs have increased Bitcoin transactions, signaling a pivot to decentralized finance. And recently, a Russian lawmaker proposed creating a national Bitcoin reserve to hedge against geopolitical risks and sanctions. This proposal, if implemented, could significantly increase Russia's official Bitcoin holdings in the future. So that's two down. United States and Russia. Who's next but China? China ranks as the second largest government holder of Bitcoin with an estimated 190 to 194,000 Bitcoin in its possession. The Chinese government's Bitcoin holdings are primarily the result of seizures linked to illegal activities, most notably the Plus token Ponzi scheme. Despite China's strict regulation and crackdowns of cryptocurrency-related activities, including mining and trading, the government has maintained its substantial Bitcoin reserves. Next on deck, Japan. Japanese lawmakers led by Satoshi Arayama have proposed the creation of a national Bitcoin reserve. As reported by Decrypt, Aoyama argues that Bitcoin could act as a hedge against global financial instability, especially given Japan's high national debt and the reliance on fiat currencies. Japan's government does not directly hold Bitcoin, but the country's government pension investment fund, the world's largest pension fund managing over 1.5 trillion, that's trillion with a T, dollars worth of assets, has announced plans to explore diversifying a portion of its portfolio into Bitcoin. While the GPIF has not yet invested in Bitcoin, this move signals a potential shift in Japan's approach to cryptocurrency investments. Number 5 is Germany, who are learning lessons from selling their Bitcoin because Germany's 2022 Bitcoin sale stemmed from the dismantling of Movie 2K, an illegal streaming site whose operators laundered millions of dollars in Bitcoin. Authorities seized the cryptocurrency and then sold it, citing legal requirements to convert assets to fiat and a preference for immediate liquidity over market risk. And while the sale generated significant revenue, critics argued that holding the Bitcoin could have yielded greater long-term gains. This reflects Germany's cautious stance on cryptocurrencies, prioritizing fiscal stability over speculation. Who holds the most Bitcoin today? Well, there's a National Bitcoin Reserve comparison chart that if Forbes' website would stop freaking the hell out, I could actually read. Good Lord. Nations' Bitcoin reserves are often shrouded in mystery, but public data provides a glimpse into the emerging trend. Most holdings come from seized operations because all governments are criminal. They just steal your shit. They just steal it, dude. They don't... Sorry. Illustrating the legal complexities and opportunities in managing digital assets. And below is a table summarizing the largest Bitcoin national holdings. Now, this chart almost looks exactly like that doofus guy that I told you about on either Thursday or Friday that had a chart with wrong numbers all over it. And his concern was, well, if all these people get a hold of all this Bitcoin, they're going to be able to control the coin. No, they're not. But it looks like he might have gotten a lot of his information from this particular chart, which says that United States has 207,189 Bitcoin. China has 194,000. The United Kingdom holds 61,000. And it still says Germany holds 50,000, but they don't. They sold it all. So I wish people would update their shit. It says here that Ukraine owns 46,351 Bitcoin and El Salvador just under 6,000 Bitcoin. Not sure about the Ukraine number, but hey, whatever, dude. Let's see. Ooh, hold on. Wow, Forbes' website is really freaking out on me, dude. Okay, there we go. The geopolitical landscape of Bitcoin is still unfolding. While the U.S. leads in holdings, nations like China and Russia are quietly building their reserves, often through opaque channels. Meanwhile, smaller players like El Salvador demonstrate how Bitcoin can transform national strategies. If an actual race for Bitcoin reserves were to begin, it would likely intensify along the lines of existing financial and strategic capabilities. Wealthy nations with vast foreign exchange reserves, such as United States and China, could leverage that financial power to acquire massive amounts of Bitcoin. In a hypothetical scenario, where nations allocate the equivalent value of their gold reserves to Bitcoin, the market would experience unprecedented demand, with the price of Bitcoin projected to surpass $952,000 and the total market cap reaching approximately 20 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Middle tier powers like the United Kingdom and Germany might increase their holdings through aggressive seizure policies or direct purchases, aiming to secure a hedge against financial instability. Countries with significant technological infrastructures like Japan and South Korea could enhance their reserves through government-backed mining initiatives similar to Bhutan's model. Meanwhile, nations like Russia and Iran might focus on state-sponsored mining to bypass sanctions and acquire Bitcoin covertly. If nations actively begin hoarding national Bitcoin reserves at this scale, the world could witness the dawn of an era where digital gold replaces traditional assets in national treasuries. This shift would mark a transformative moment in financial history as Bitcoin's unique properties challenge the dominance of fiat currencies like the US dollar. This movement could also have profound implications for geopolitics. Smaller, economically agile nations might gain a competitive edge by adopting Bitcoin early, leveraging it as a hedge against inflation and a tool for economic empowerment. In contrast, larger economies would face increasing pressure to incorporate Bitcoin into their reserves to avoid losing influence in a changing financial landscape. As Bitcoin becomes integral to national treasuries, it could reduce dependence on traditional financial systems and institutions like central banks, altering the dynamics of international trade, diplomacy, and sanctions. The era of national Bitcoin reserves would also usher in brand new challenges. Nations would need to address security risks, the volatility, and public trust in a decentralized asset. However, those that successfully navigate this shift could achieve unprecedented monetary sovereignty, fostering resilience against economic crises and external pressures. The geopolitical strategies of the digital age would revolve around technological innovation, God forbid, crypto infrastructure, and the race to dominate the decentralized financial ecosystem, fundamentally reshaping the global order for decades to come. I'm just starting to see FOMO at the nation-state level, and honestly, I'm a bit concerned about it. I honestly, I can't just let it go. I can't just sit here and be the guy that says, this is great, we're all going to get Lambos and girlfriends. Because honestly, I think there's a lot more at stake here. You're talking about a massive sea change in attitudes of nation states around the world. I honestly don't think that there's not going to be some manner of pain, and I don't necessarily mean pain in the price of or the purchasing power of whatever Bitcoin you might hold. I'm talking about maybe escalations in border disputes. Maybe we see more military or militaristic actions. Maybe we see more covert actions insofar as trying to overthrow governments through, I don't know, manipulation of presidential elections. It's not like the United States hasn't manipulated damn near every presidential election in South and Central America for the last, 4 decades, if not 7? I mean, this shit happens. This is a thing. It's not, I'm not imagining this crap. But no matter what happens, I still am starting to see nation state FOMO. And when I ask myself the question, have you ever seen a nation state have fear of missing out on anything in your entire span of life here on this planet? And I got to say, no. It's been pretty much real estate, gold, odd marketable securities, that kind, equities, stocks. I mean, that, but it's never been FOMO. It's just something that's been it's been a static thing, right? Real estate has always been here. Gold has always been here. Everything has always been here. The stock market has always been here. As far as anybody on the face of this planet that's living and breathing right now, they have never known a day without a stock market. And that goes and that's just in the United States. If you want to go back to any stock market, you got to go back hundreds of years. Now, it wasn't electrified or anything like that, but this is not a new concept. So silver, platinum, all these things, they've always been here. Everybody alive on this planet has always seen the exact same when it comes to financial instrumentation. This is the first time humanity has seen something new, I'm going to say since the discovery of gold, or rather since humans' discovery that gold may actually have other properties than just being a nice, pretty, shiny metal rock. You get my drift? We've never seen nation states experience fear of missing out, and that's what concerns me. Because they fuck everything up, even shit that they know how to do. How are nation states going to act if they really experience serious FOMO around the first asset that actually has a hard upper limit? And the answer to that is, I don't know. I can only speculate, but I have a sneaky suspicion that it might not be as pleasant as we all make it out to be. Now, one country was not actually mentioned in that story, so I'm going to let Atlas 21, written by The Newsroom, they don't have an author, it's just atlas21.com, and this is by The Newsroom, and it says, Thailand should study Bitcoin and digital assets, according to an appeal from the former Prime Minister Shinawatra, if I've pronounced that even remotely right. During a conference in Hua Hin, former Thai Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra made an appeal to the government emphasizing the urgency for Thailand to deepen its study of cryptocurrencies in order to keep pace with the evolution of the global economy. In his speech, the former prime minister revealed that Prime Minister Yin Gyuk had ordered the Ministry of Finance to set up a sandbox to experiment with accepting Bitcoin payments in Fuck It, and to study the issuance of stablecoins backed by government bonds instead of printing banknotes. Shinawatra stated, quote, "What I am saying is not to buy it, but the trend is like that. Today, the Thai people must reflect and understand this reality. The Prime Minister may assign the Ministry of Finance to study whether to accept Bitcoin or not. Can we use sandboxes in tourist areas like Fuck It or Ha Hin? Use Bitcoin to allow people who hold it to spend it." End quote. He also highlighted the potential implications of the Trump administration's trade policies and its intention to use Bitcoin for national debt. Thailand is already making strides in the digital asset sector. The Thai SEC has established a regulatory framework to allow selected providers to experiment with digital assets and intends to grant access to crypto investments for mutual and private funds, fostering institutional adoption in the country. In September, Kasik Korna Bank became the first authorized crypto custodian in the country. And in October, the Bank of Thailand initiated a partnership with the Hong Kong Monetary Authority to test cross-border tokenized regulations, not payments, testing cross-border tokenized regulations. Okay, so there's actually, that's probably the quiet part said out loud, is you can regulate something in your own country, but if it is easily liquefiable across those borders, then both the owners of those borders need to come together with some kind of cogent, understandable regulations between the two partners, right? And we're definitely going to see more of that. But I think it should be said that we don't forget that Thailand is a communist state. It's communism. I just need to make sure about that. Hold on. I just want to make sure that I'm not blowing smoke out of my ass. Yeah, Communist Party of Thailand. It does. Yeah, it. Hold on for a second. I need to make sure about this. Okay, no, I guess wherever it is that I picked that up, because I'm not a scholar of Southeast Asia, so you're just going to have to forgive me for that one. But before 1992, Thailand was a communist country. Now it says, according to the United States Department of State, that Thailand is a functional democracy. Who knows? It really is going to take somebody from actual Thailand to tell me whether or not Thailand is communist or a functional democracy. But it doesn't matter, because now even Southeast Asian countries like Thailand are starting to understand that they're going to have to do this. They don't want to be left out, man. Nobody wants to be left out of this stuff. So that said, let's move on to something called Tando, Tando. Tando was all the rage at this year's Africa Bitcoin conference, according to Frank Corva from Bitcoin Magazine, who I guess was there, because he says, before I even arrived at this year's Africa Bitcoin conference, I saw attendees posting about Tando, a new Kenya-based payments app that allows users to spend their sats with merchants who don't accept Bitcoin directly. How is this possible, you might ask? Well, I'll explain it. To use Tando, you simply download the app and prepare to pay any merchant who accepts payments via M-Pesa, Kenya's mobile money service. When the merchant presents you with your bill, you simply click on the Send Money square on the app's home screen. From there, you enter the mobile number tied to the M-Pesa account to which you're sending money, and then input the amount of Kenyan shillings you want to send. The app automatically calculates the amount of sats it will take to cover the shilling amount that you've input. Then you click on the green Create Invoice button to obtain a Lightning invoice. And after that, you copy the invoice and pay it via your preferred Lightning wallet. Tando receives the sats and then settles the bill in shillings with the merchants within seconds. I can barely count how many times I've watched Bitcoiners use Tando to pay restaurant bills or taxi fares since I've been here. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Tando interfaces with a fiat payment system, which means that it should be excommunicated from the Church of Bitcoin. But before you allow yourself to entertain that kind of thinking, please consider the following notions. Number one, you're a loser. Number two, here in Kenya, much like in other parts of Africa, people actually use Bitcoin for payments. 3, when you show someone how to use Tando, it provides you with an opportunity to show the merchant what Bitcoin is as you show them how the app works. I watched Gorilla Sats's Brendan Mwini masterfully do this for a waitress at a conference after party. And number 4, M-Pesa requires that its users KYC, and some Kenyan citizens don't have the proper documentation to do so, which means they're excluded from the system. Using Tando, they can be included in Kenya's broader monetary system. The excitement around Tando at the conference was part of the broader enthusiasm around apps that make Bitcoin easier to use across the African continent. Apps like Bitsako, Manshura, Machankura, Fedi, and Bitnob. My God, these names. Holy shit. African Bitcoiners are far ahead of counterparts in the United States when it comes to using Bitcoin as it is intended to be used as a peer-to-peer electronic cash. And while many Africans are working tirelessly to onboard as many merchants as they can to Bitcoin, Tando is an excellent intermediary step that allows Bitcoiners to spend their sats even if the merchants with whom they're spending don't yet accept Bitcoin payments. And here's my estimation of what's going to happen in the future. By the way, that's the end of the article. These apps like Tando are going to be everywhere. They're going to be the primary bridges between Bitcoin and the fiat conventional systems of countries around the nations. And then people are going to get fucking greedy like they always damn well do. And they're going to start charging 1% and 2% and then 3%, maybe even upwards into the 4s and 5s, maybe 6s, maybe 7% of your payment has to go to something. And I'm not going to say Tando by name, but some intermediary bridge. And merchants are going to have to pay part of that, right? Or if it goes and it's like solely on the purchaser, either one or both of those two parties are going to get pissed. Except that the merchant, like let's say that the merchant has to split the cost with the customer, right? They're both paying 3% on this transaction. And the customer looks at the merchant and says, dude, if you would just learn how to do this shit directly and have your own Bitcoin wallet or your own Lightning node set up, we don't need this. Off to the races. So it very well may be that these bridges and the greed that they will instill might actually be one of the many touch points that it takes to get into a fully circular Bitcoin economy without having to touch fiat payment rails. But that will come directly in the future. But one more thing, this reminds me of something that happened this morning at my Toastmasters Club meeting, which we have at 6:30 in the morning. Yes, sometimes you have to be prepared to speak publicly at 6:45. Just saying. You want some training in public speaking? Do it that early in the morning when you're still working on your first cup of coffee. We meet at a coffee shop. Right, so there's a barrister. There's actually a couple of them, and every Christmas, this particular club gives the barristers, Christmas cards and money, in cash, because of their service to the club throughout the year. And it's a nice little thing. But I realized I didn't have any cash in my wallet. Wouldn't it have been cool if I could have gone up to the barrister and said, can I borrow your point of sale device because I see you're using, let's say that they've got a Square point of sale device. Let's say they've got some point of sale device that somehow or another is, used majorly around the world, but yet the owner of the company or that company itself was forward-sighted enough to have it somewhere or another integrate with Bitcoin. All right. So now I can just go up to the barrister and say, look, I need to be able to connect to this point of sale using my phone. Except instead of giving that point of sale money, what it does is it just lets me use the point of sale's printer. And I print out a QR code. So I make a Lightning invoice for $20. And then I send that information just through Bluetooth or whatever directly to that point of sale terminal. And instead of taking the actual money itself, it just prints something like an Azteco receipt. And then I take that Azteco receipt and I shove it in with the cash for the barrister that we're all collecting up. And then when the barrister actually gets that back, like in the Christmas card, whenever the Christmas card is delivered, then they look at it and it says scan with your phone. And you get where I'm going with this. Because there was no way that I could leave something of physical nature for the barrister that could be converted into cash. But doing something like this, what I'm just suggesting, that we would be, in a way, it'd be like being able to print an on-the-fly check that is like a cashier's check where it's already been paid for and cannot be taken back. See what I'm saying? If any of you people are out there want to, get on that, I think that actually may be helpful. I can't code myself out of a wet paper bag with holes in it, so I can't do it. But you know who else might not be able to do it? This woman who kidnapped a Saudi royal stole $40,000 in Bitcoin, but somehow has not only avoided jail, has avoided death. And Ryan S. Gladwin from Decrypt tells us more about it. A 24-year-old woman kidnapped a Saudi Arabian royal family member with the help of 3 others and forced him to pay $40,000 in Bitcoin after threatening to cut his fingers off. But, as reported by the Daily Mail, the perpetrator was not put behind bars, despite pleading guilty. How is she not dead? Catherine Colvis faced a maximum sentence of 25 years at her Monday hearing in Victoria, Australia. She pleaded guilty to kidnapping, extortion, recklessly causing injury, theft, and gun possession. However, she only received a community corrections order, essentially Australians' version of community service. The County Court of Victoria heard that Colvis went for drinks and dinner with the Saudi royal after they matched on a dating app. And then Colvis' date drove her back home. As the royal walked Colvis to her door, he was ambushed by 3 men, including Colvis's own boyfriend. Wow, they had planned this one. The victim was then cable tied so he couldn't leave and threatened at knife point. The judge heard that he was told that his fingers would be cut off if he did not pay the perpetrator's money. As he was a crypto trader, the victim offered Bitcoin and had to phone a friend to complete the transfer of $40,000. And after this, his keys were stolen and the perpetrators raided his home. Court documents say they stole designer clothes, a PlayStation 5, and several iPhones. The victim was then released and immediately went to the police before spending the night in a hospital, nursing the wounds to his head and wrist. But despite the severity of the crime that Colvis pleaded guilty to, the judge believed a 30-month community corrections order was sufficient due to exceptional circumstances. Namely, the judge cited her youth, her troubled upbringing, her fragile mental health, the prospects for her rehabilitation, and that her brother had died while awaiting her trial as reasons for the sentencing. Okay, this is just stupid. All right, so this is just an object lesson here, boys and girls. You don't talk about your Bitcoin. All right. I talk about my Bitcoin, but I'm a podcaster, right? I had to make this decision. Now, let's say for whatever reason that I wasn't married and I wanted to get like a dating app. And believe me, I don't want to do either one of those fucking things. But I got a dating app. I'm not going to tell the people that I might go out on a date with that I've got Bitcoin. Now, he didn't, but still, he was a Saudi royal, which meant he's going to have some money somewhere. So for this standpoint, it really didn't matter, except that he, for whatever reason, offered Bitcoin instead of just straight cash. But for those people out there that do telegraph to the public, like you're whether you're dating or you're just talking in a bar, if you're talking in a bar and you're hammered as shit and you say you got 10 Bitcoin and the dude right next to you is like, dude, this guy's hammered as shit. This is a problem. This is an absolute problem, and we really gotta wrap our little handles around it. So I still advise, don't wear Bitcoin swag. Don't wear the Bitcoin t-shirt. In my case, I wouldn't even wear a Satoshi t-shirt. It would have to be something so esoteric that only another Bitcoin would ever have hope to even, be coming close to getting it. And it would have to be a hardcore Bitcoiner too. That's how esoteric it would have to be for me to wear any kind of remotely adjacent Bitcoin swag. Just don't do it. You paint a target on your back, and worse off, you paint a target on the backs of the people that you're with, because that is your shirt that says Bitcoin means not only do you have Bitcoin, but the people that you're hanging around, they probably got Bitcoin too. So you're kind of endangering everybody. Please reconsider wearing all of the Bitcoin swag. It's not that I don't want, it's not that I don't love it. It's not that I don't want people to make money making the t-shirts and stuff like that. I'm just saying it's a target. So be aware. And let's run the numbers. West Texas Intermediate oil is down 1/3 of a point, but it's still at $71.04 a barrel. Brent North Sea is down 0.4% to $74.19. Natural gas down almost 2 points to $3.21 per 1,000 cubic feet. Gasoline is down 0.81%, back under $2 to $1.98 per gallon. Gold, not doing all that well. It's down a quarter to $26.68 and 70 cents. Silver is moving sideways. Platinum is up 1.74%. Copper is down a fifth of a point, and palladium is down 1.25%. We got agricultural futures. The biggest winner is chocolate again, 3.75% to the upside. Biggest loser, lumber, 0.65% to the downside. And live cattle is down almost a point. Lean hogs are down, 2.69%. Feeder cattle are down a third. The Dow is moving sideways, and the S&P is up 0.6%. NASDAQ is up 1.5%, and the S&P Mini is up a third of a point. And Bitcoin is at $107,600, which is a $2.13 trillion market cap. That's trillion with the D. And somebody check on Peter Schiff. You can now get 40.5 ounces of shiny metal rocks with your one Bitcoin, and that is an all-time high. 19,796,795.4 BTC in circulation at the time, and the average fees per block are 0.08 Bitcoin, taking in fees on average on a per block basis, of which there are 105 blocks carrying 266,000 unconfirmed transactions waiting to clear at high priorities of 8 Satoshis per VByte. Low priority is going to get you in at 6. 780.7 exahashes per second is the hash rate at this time on a 1-week rolling average. And from Friday's show, The Ghost of Peanut Future, I have Crazy69 giving me 10,001 sats. Palindrome Boost says, congrats on 1,000 episodes. You are an inspiration. Yeah, well, and I'm also broke. But hey, if I can inspire somebody, I will do so. Jay with 2100 says, I did the Ron Swanson giggle several times during the first half of this. Also, fountain streaming is temperamental right now, so my sat streaming cut off almost every time. Dude, Jay, it's okay. We are all so very early to all of this. The only way to make value for value really work is to constantly try to use value for value, even when it's broken. And when it is broken, to tell the people who need to be told that it is broken. Mr. Sat Stacker with 1,000 says, nothing. God's death with 537 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Steve with 420 says, fault coins. I like that. Mr. Sat Stacker with another 500 says, nothing again. User 11556842 with 451 says, death to modern advertising models. I hear you, pal. Lupin with 450 says, thanks for your always appreciated overview and assessment. Pies with 420 says, thank you, sir. No, thank you. Wartime with 333 says, cheers with an emoji. And that's going to be the weather report. Welcome to part 2 of the news you can use. Miljan, we had some problems with Primal Wallet over the weekend, and Miljan this morning comes out to describe a little bit about what's going on and where we're at. Says, apologies to Primal Wallet users for the service disruption last night and this morning. During this period, users could access their wallet balances and transaction lists, as well as send and receive funds between Primal users. However, external transactions were not possible. All systems are now operational. We are working on improving the system to making it more resilient moving forward. Thank you for your understanding. Yeah, sure, no problem, Miljan. Just next time this happens, if there's like a way that Primal doesn't supersede my, oh God, what is it, my NIP? I can't remember what. All right, here's what happened. People were telling me they weren't able to send me money through Primal and other, like in a couple of other apps too. So when I went to go look at my profile in Primal, because that's one of the ones that I use for desktop. Actually, I was looking at it in Damus on iOS. I was looking at my profile because I was wondering what the hell was going on, and my Bitcoin Lightning address had been changed from Nunya@getalby.com to I think it was NunyaBidness at primal.com. I never changed it in my profile. It also screwed up my NIP05 address. My verified nostr address is another way of saying that. And my verified nostr address, I use my StackerNews address, which is NunyaBidness at stacker.news. Both of those had been changed to a primal address. And I didn't do that. Now, I get that, Miljan, him and his team own Primal. They can do whatever the hell they want. I get it. Except that when those were changed, that propagated all the way down to Damus, I assume Coracle, and I assume satellite.earth. I assume that it propagated to everything. And this is a problem. And I'm not mad. I'm not even all that annoyed because, like I've said, and I've said it before, and I will say it again, we are very early to all this. Things are going to break. You and me have to be vigilant. I had no clue that this had happened. Thank God people were like going, "Hey, why can't I zap you?" And I'm like, I have no idea. And it's like, well, here's what it, what it says. And I'm like, that's when I found out, because the error that they were getting through, I think they were trying to zap me directly from Primal. It said, we cannot reach this address. And then it gave the address, and it was like NunyaBidness at primal.com. And I'm like, what? That's not my Lightning address. And I went to go check. And that's when I found out that both my Lightning address and my verified address were both changed. And I didn't make the change in my Primal profile. Yet the change was made, and that change propagated everywhere. So I may be having issues getting zaps from other places. If this is the case, somehow or another, let me know, and I will endeavor to fix all that. I've got my Bitcoin Lightning address and my verified nostr address in. I'm looking at Primal right now, and it has changed because I physically replaced these with what should be there. So my Bitcoin Lightning address is now showing Nunya at getalby.com, which is what it should be. And my verified nostr address is NunyaBidness at stacker.news, which is what it should be. So I just wanted to put that up. If you are, if you're having problems, you need to go check what you need. It doesn't matter what app you're on. If you're seeing problems with zapping somebody or getting zapped, you need to go to your profile and you need to check your verified address and your Bitcoin Lightning address. And you need to make sure it's how you actually have it set up. Okay. If it's not set up that way, then fix it. Otherwise, we're going to have problems. So let's move on to Ripple. Yeah, we're going to talk about one of the shittiest of all the shit coins that there ever was a shit coin of, and the shittiest of the shit is Ripple. And they are going to launch RLUSD on Tuesday, monthly attestations to follow. So Ripple is launching a stablecoin. That's what this boils down to. Remember over the last 3 weeks that I've kept telling everybody that you're going to see a plethora of stablecoins come out, and it's going to rival the Scambrian explosion of shit coins that we saw from 2016 through 2018. Well, here it comes, and it's starting with Ripple. This is out of the block, written by R.T. Watson. Ripple's much anticipated US dollar peg stablecoin has a launch date, and that's tomorrow, Tuesday, December the 17th. RLUSD will be available on global exchanges starting tomorrow, Ripple said in a statement on Monday. Each RLUSD token is fully backed by US dollar deposits, US government bonds, and cash equivalents. Pausing to remind everybody, again, this is going to be a scam. Okay, two things. It's going to be a Scambrian explosion of stable coins, and most of them are going to rug you. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you don't know what these things are backed by unless somehow or another they get audited by something like Ernst & Young, and they publish that audit, and that audit is actually signed by somebody like Ernst & Young. All right. And three, those that actually do the audit, it is proven that they are buying and holding United States Treasury bills. Those stable coins will be the largest purchasers of United States debt It will no longer be nation states. They're done with us. It's going to be the stablecoin. It's going to be the stablecoin and the stablecoin companies that buy U.S. debt. I don't know what the future holds, but honestly, my gut feeling is that this is not good. I'm not really, all that wary of something like Tether and, for God forbid, even USDC, only because they've been around a long, long time. Right? And when I look back on it, I realize that they've been around for a lot longer than I expected them to ever be around. But outside of those two, if you have to use a stable coin, you need to be really careful of what horse you decide to back, because I can almost guarantee that you're going to be seeing 75% pure scam coin with all these released stable coins. Now, one thing that I will say about Ripple stablecoin is that Ripple has been around long enough. I hate it, right? What I'm saying is that they have an almost immovable relationship with the United States government, specifically through the SEC and the DOJ. It would not surprise me if Ripple stablecoin ends up being very successful. It may also be the situation where it's so successful that XRP just goes away, and that is Ripple's token, is their XRP token. It's a pile of crap. It's an ugly shit coin, but maybe it will actually go away when the guys over at Ripple realize that they're probably going to get a lot more rich by buying and holding United States Treasury bills and charging whatever it is they charge for their stablecoin service than they would just trying to hold, and get people to actually use this bullshit stable coin called XRP. So it's coming, guys. It's coming. Now, Coracle version 0.5.0 is faster. It has a nostr editor and a reworked login. And this is my friend Hodlebod's project, Coracle, Coracle.social. Coracle is a free and open source web client for the Nostr protocol focused on relay selection and management, web of trust based moderation, and content recommendations, as well as privacy protections. It's available on the web and on Android. It's not available for the iOS. It's finally arrived, and the focus of the release is, focus. It's a huge release with lots of improvements to existing features and the removal of, about a few thousand lines of code. This version comes with reworked login and onboarding experience, performance improvements to feeds and relay-based feeds, undo option via delayed send. Ooh, that's going to be nice. Nostr editor for smoother note reply editing experience, and more. This version also removes groups, calendars, marketplaces, and the ability to send NIP04 messages. Quote, the good news is that the feeds are better and will continue to get improved, including render support for almost any Nostr event. If you're very attached to NIP72 communities or NIP89 private groups, rest in peace. You can still access the previous version of Coracle at groups.coracle.social, or if you want the better groups, you need to use flotilla.social. Again, that's flotilla, like a flotilla of boats. Flotilla.social is how Hodlebod has reintegrated groups, but he's just pulled it out of Coracle and built Flotilla. You need to go check it out because flotilla.groups is pretty cool. So what's new? There's an undo via delayed send. It allows users to quickly correct those typos that you notice just as you press send. The option can be enabled in settings. Reworked login and onboarding, the new flow, aims to strike a delicate balance between flexibility and security and a comprehensible user experience. Feeds are faster, especially the relay-based feeds. The controls for feeds should also be incrementally improved. A nostr editor for a smoother note and reply editing experience. Information about relay connections and notice messages on the heads-up display you can access in the left sidebar on desktop. They've removed groups, calendars, and marketplaces. remove support for sending NIP04. Yeah, so we know that. So give the new Coracle a try. I have not yet, so I'm going to give it a spin right now live. We're going to do it live, Coracle. And somehow or another, all my cookies got wiped from my web browser, and I'm having to redo everything. And I don't know how it happened, but whatever. Let's see here. What Coracle.social. Dun, dun, dun. Come on. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. All right, it's coming up. Hey, yeah, it is faster. It is faster. Once it finally initiated, it is faster. Oh my God, dude, this is looking good. Holobod, dude, excellent work, my friend, brother. All right, let's move on to Riot. Forgot to include Riot in the news. Riot Platforms, they too have bought more Bitcoin, raising their holdings to 17,429. Jason Shubnell reports that from the block. Riot Platforms has used the proceeds from their recent convertible senior notes offering to increase its Bitcoin holdings. They said they were going to do it, and they've already done it. Quote, with the additional proceeds from Riot's upsized $594 million 0.75% coupon convertible bond issue, the company has acquired 667 Bitcoin at an average price of $101,135 per Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miner has already used a portion of these net proceeds from the offering to acquire 5,117 Bitcoin between December the 10th and December the 12th. Riot stock was down 25% this year as miners struggled to maintain profitability. However, its fortunes began to change following a December 12th report from the Wall Street Journal that activist hedge fund manager Starboard Value bought a stake in Riot and wants to convert some of its Bitcoin mining facilities into capacity for hyperscalers, whatever the hell that is. So Riot is starting to shore up their financial balance sheets by buying and holding Bitcoin instead of just relying on the Bitcoin that they mine, and you're going to see a lot more of that, I guarantee it. OpenSats has announced their 9th wave of nostr grants. So last time I reported on OpenSats grants, it was about Bitcoin Core grants. Now they're doing what they said they were going to do, and they're continuing to support the development of nostr, which is a good thing. Let's see who's in this list. Algo Relay is the first algorithmic relay on nostr designed to deliver personalized feeds while ensuring transparency and user control. Unlike proprietary solutions, it supports multiple clients and fosters a diverse ecosystem of algorithms for creating engaging social feeds. So algorithms seem to be on the way in a relay packaged format. Interesting. Pokey got a grant. Pokey is a poll notifications app for Android that offers multi-account support, efficient notifications, and online Bluetooth mesh networking. Oh, hell yeah, brother. Nostr Safebox is an open source wallet for the Nostr network that stores cashew tokens as encrypted relay events. It enables secure fund management and transfers without relying on centralized databases, offering a scalable, decentralized payment system. And then Persian NIPs. That's an open source ebook that provides Persian/Farsi speakers with localized Nostr resources. It includes translations of key NIPs, user guides for tools like NIP05 and Lightning, and developer documentation for managing Nostr relays and clients. Finally, LumiLumi. It's a lightweight Nostr web client that enhances accessibility and usability. It offers custom emojis, relay configuration, NIP05 verification, and data settings, making it ideal for data-limited environments. Oh, data-saving settings, making it ideal for data-limited environments. It's the Pokey and the Algo Relay one that is my favorite part of these things. It's not that you're going to be forced to use the algorithms. And if you're using a client that forces an algorithm on you, you need to be your own algorithm and stop using that client if you don't want to use that, right? You've got your choice of 50 different clients. I'm sure you can find one that's not going to force an algorithm, but I don't think any of them actually are, because that doesn't make sense. It makes better sense to have like a marketplace of algorithms that you can choose to use. And we've been promised this, and it looks like we're starting to get it. Now, that pokey thing, the offline Bluetooth mesh networking, if you don't know what mesh networking is, then, well, Google it or DuckDuckGo it, however you want to do it. But also look into things like GoTenna, and there's like a couple of other things about mesh networking. It's sort of like a localized, low power, radio based, network, right? Where if you're connected on one end of the mesh network, like a mile away, on like, I don't know, across town, and I am able to send you a nostr message, I can use this nostr client, Pokey, to actually send a message, but not over nostr. I can just send it directly over using Bluetooth, connect to the mesh network. And then that mesh network bounces that message around until it finally finds you, the authorized recipient of that message, and then you can read the message. But it's also a nostr client, kind of. It's not really a client. It's really stripped down and lightweight. But what I'm fascinated with is that we're now starting to really take mesh network more seriously when it comes to Bitcoin, Lightning, eCash, Fedimint, and now nostr. This is all going to be important. Mesh network has always been important, so don't let that pass you by. And then we got MemPal. This is will finish us up today. MemPal version 1.4.0. Tap to refresh, multiple custom servers, and major optimizations. MemPal, M-E-M, like memory, like mempool, but MemPal is a Bitcoin mempool monitoring and notification app. It allows users to track real-time fee rates and mempool depth for smarter transaction and fee management. It's available only on Android, though. So, let's see. Mempool offers detailed Bitcoin mempool insights, including the current size of the mempool, the transaction fee levels, and the fee distribution. It also allows users to set customizable notifications for when transaction fees reach a certain threshold, specific transaction confirmations, and when new Bitcoin blocks are mined. The app comes with real-time widgets that provide up-to-date information, helping users optimize transaction costs. The latest version of the app introduces a new icon, major optimizations, and some other stuff. What I really like about this is the customizable notification to tell me when a transaction fee has reached a certain threshold. Let's say that I'm planning at one point or another to do a transaction today, but it can wait. It can wait for another 10 hours. I don't really need it to do it. So let's say that I've got a custom, but let's say that fee rates are at like, I don't know, 127 Satoshis per VByte. Screw that. I can wait till it goes back down to like, I don't know, 8, somewhere between 8 and 20. So I set a customizable notification to say, hey, when fees hit 8, you let me know. That sounds to me to be a very, very useful tool, and I'm really surprised that mempool.space doesn't have that. And if here's what's neat. If mempool.space just added nostr functionality, they'd be able to blast out fee rates directly to the nostr network, and I could use nostr to actually give me a directly from mempool like a fee. Or better yet, since I can sign into mempool under like sort of a login, and if that login was my nostr login, my nostr npub, then if I tell the mempool.space, hey, you need to send to my npub every time fees hit 10 Satoshis per VByte for today, and then only I'm the one that gets that message. I honestly think that this kind of thing is this type of alert automation is going to be kind of pivotal coming in the future. But that is the end of what I have for you today. It is snowing out here in Eastern Washington. I think I'm going to go take a little walk in it, maybe eat a little bit of chow, wash my dog, considering he's going to be in the car with us for 2 days. And he's pretty stinky. So I'm going to go do all of that. You do all of you, and I will see you on the other side.
This has been Bitcoin and I'm your host, David Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hope to see you again real soon. Have a great day.